Hey, I hope we're live, everybody. Pop this open. Let me get Twitter. And let's wait for that tweet to go out, huh?
Are we on the E1M1 account?
Of course. That's the first thing I check every time because I don't want to accidentally broadcast this to mine. Yeah, it looks like we are live.
Account?
Of course. Yeah, we're definitely live. Cool. Cool. Alright, let me just switch this out.
Twitch app on my tablet is terrible.
Twitch app is just terrible. It's not your tablet. I wish it were better. Like, literally for months and months and months, you couldn't actually find TVGP on there. Or at least not on the mobile one. Alright. Okay. Alright, I think I've delayed us enough here. You ready to kick this thing off? Uh-oh. Did I lose you? You still there?
Oh, sorry. Microphone got muted somehow.
Fair enough. Alright, let's make this thing happen then. We're gonna kick it off in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to TVGP's Game Club Cast, where folks from the TVGP.tv forums get together once a month and talk about a community-voted game. I'm your host, The Hannah. With me today is Nintendork327.
Hello, all relaxed, cozy.
Yeah, with some
after-hours special. Some
very fancy pajamas. I dig the collar. I don't know if I could wear that to bed, but I get where you're coming from with it. Unfortunately, we are down one Boston. As if you listen to the main show this week, he was feeling a little under the weather, and it has unfortunately gotten worse. So hope you feel better soon. Hope you can join us for next month's game, which we will reveal at the end of this show. Little tease there.
Spoiler alert, it wasn't mine.
So that's one down. You got a 50-50 chance. Get your guesses in now. But we are soldiering on anyway. This month's nominees were Dante's Inferno, as suggested by the other Jay-Z.
Who's that guy?
Yeah, where'd he go? He's over on the Carousel still. CarouselPodcast.com.
Who are broadcasting tonight, by the way, also.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Can we, invade their stream?
That's an idea. That's a great idea.
That is a great idea. Maybe
Let's forget this. Let's just shut this down.
Shut it down.
And let's just go make Jay-Z's nights miserable.
I'm kind of okay with that, actually.
We can do this next week. That'll give me time to finish.
Yeah, for sure. The second suggestion was Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons,
which is a great game.
Yeah, suggested by Trevor Treebeard. And, of course, our winner was Valkyria Chronicles, suggested by Pendragon. Unfortunately, I reached out to Pendragon. I didn't get anything back, so we don't know why he chose this game. But after playing it...
I don't know anything...
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Pendragon, do you?
No, he's been on the forums for quite a while. I don't think he's posted anything terribly personal, though, which totally understandable,
Yeah.
So, let's get into it here. So Valkyria Chronicles is a tactical RPG developed and published by Sega. It was originally released on PS3 in North America and on November 4th, 2008. It was later released for PC on November 11th, 2014, and a remastered version just came to PS4 on May 17th of this year. It features a unique turn-based battle system called the Blitz system, which is an acronym standing for Battle of Live Tactical Zones, which they never tell you in the game.
No, I didn't know that until right now.
Yeah, I literally read that on Wikipedia, and I was like, oh, that's
But it makes
cool.
sense. I mean, all of these Japanese systems always have some sort of name to them, right?
Absolutely.
So what I find interesting about this is that the game came out 6 years prior to the PC port.
Yes.
Which tells you a lot about how much people like this game, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty telling especially a Japanese game, because they're not known for PC at all.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
I will get into, some of the issues I had with this game on PC. Probably partially because it came out of a Japanese developer.
Okay, that's interesting. You played on the PC?
I did, yeah. I got it on Steam a while back and was just like, oh, well, I could play this on PS3, but I'm more likely to play it if I'm on a PC, because both PS3 and PC are both down here, and I come down here to do these shows and work. now. You know, with the baby,
Okay.
we're always upstairs. So
I played on the PlayStation 3.
okay, you went out and found a used copy or something.
Yeah, it's cheap. All of these games are usually pretty cheap. So
Yeah,
I
which is
don't know
nice.
if I paid $10 for it.
Wow, that's impressive. Yeah, I think I probably didn't pay much for my copy either. Probably got it on sale for like $5, or it came in a bundle, more than likely, and I just had it. But yeah, so a quick synopsis of the game, which this is a JRPG, so this quick synopsis is still a very large paragraph. Valkyria Chronicles is set in Europa, which resembles the European continent as it was known in 1935. However, with significant deviations. The two major powers exist in this alternate world. The Atlantic Federation in the west controls most of the European Peninsula, and the
Ally.
East European Alliance, simply known as the Empire.
Axis.
Yes.
Nazis.
They control the East. Sitting in between both of these superpowers is the small nation of Gallia. Poland?
Yeah.
Home to an ancient bloodline, simple people, and a major reserve of Ragnite ore. Ragnite is a miraculous ore that is used for many things, from powering vehicle and tank engines to providing Ragnade's restorative powers. It's petroleum. It's gas. It's oil.
Yeah.
It's just a stand-in. What's the term they? It's the MacGuffin. It's the unobtainium, I think is the term they use. As the news of the dwindling Ragnite sources become a concern, the Empire launches a full invasion of the Atlantic Federation with a focus on Gallia itself, ostensibly to secure its Ragnite. With Gallia struggling against this blitzkrieg, interesting use of that word. The story focuses on the actions of Squad 7 under command of Lieutenant Welkin Gunther, son of a famous war hero and would-be natural sciences teacher, and Sergeant Alicia Melchiot, a would-be baker. Both first met each other within the village of Brule and found themselves fighting beside each other on the day the Empire's forces ruthlessly attacked the city. So that's sort of your opening mission of the game, is you're attacked in Brule, you find out, hey, I've got my dad's tank in the garage here, let's go stomp some faces. It's very Swiss in that regard. Actually, I don't know if people know that. The Swiss are like, they're all militarily trained, they all have, like, weapons, like they're all, the entire population of the country is trained militarily, so they're neutral by force. It's pretty great. You should read up on it sometime. So let's go back in time. Let's go back to November 2008 when this came out. This got an overwhelmingly positive reception from a number of major outlets at the time. So my first poll is from 1UP. They gave it an A-. I don't know how to convert that into a number scale. Their scale has kind of been lost to time. But the quote I pulled is very telling. This is without question the best tactics game on the PS3, and it's one of the best games on the PS3, period. That was from Eric Nair. IGN gave it a 9 out of 10, saying, this strategy RPG from Sega is one of the richest, most rewarding titles I've played in a long while. That was Ryan Clements. I think he's still at IGN, too. Destructoid gave it an 8.5 out of 10.
How dare they?
How dare they? Valkyria Chronicles takes a new spin on tactical RPGs, mixing real-time action with the careful plotting of character movements on the map. Sort of a more generic quote. This particular review felt like it was written by someone on the staff that didn't want to put their name on it, so I didn't see a name. And when you're talking sales for this one, the numbers I pulled, 1.28 million for PS3 globally, which not bad for a Sega Japanese.
Not bad.
Sega JRPG.
I don't know how you ask for anything more. An incredibly niche RPG.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
And it currently has 781,000 owners on Steam. So that
and
comes... Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, also add to the fact that it's a console exclusive. That
it is.
You have to have a PlayStation to play it.
That is,
at least at the time, you had to have a PlayStation.
Considering the year it came out, considering 2008, Sony was still sort of picking up the pieces of the launch of that system. That's pretty impressive. That is actually thoroughly impressive.
And then when you compare it to what else came out, it's even more impressive.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to go through this list, and I did not know that 2008 was this good of a year, and I lived it. So we've got the original Dead Space, came out in 2008. We're doing our time travel here. Saints Row 2, Rock Band 2, Castlevania Order of Ecclesia, Far Cry 2, Fable 2, lots of 2s, Spider-Man Web of Shadows, Fallout 3, Little Big Planet, Resistance 2, Gears of War 2, Call of Duty World at War, World of Warcraft The Wrath of the Lich King, Left 4 Dead, and The Last Remnant. So you have some of the biggest franchises in gaming up here. You have Fallout, you have Gears, you have Call of Duty, you have Left 4 Dead, which, I mean, how long did you guys play that on Monday nights? Basically until Left 4 Dead 2 came out, right?
What do you mean, how long did we play that? We're still playing it.
Oh, okay, you're playing Left 4 Dead 2, though.
If you're talking about the original Left 4 Dead, well, yeah, Left 4 Dead 2 trumped it.
Oh, yeah, it had to.
So a year later, Left 4 Dead 2 was out.
Yeah.
But I mean, we are still playing that game.
Yeah. So there's some great games on this list for the time travel here. I can't believe this game sold as well as it did, even with all that competition. That is really a testament to how good and interesting and different this game is.
But you know what?
Oh,
I don't know that there's anything on this list that's a direct competitor, though, to this game.
Maybe Last Remnant.
There is no other,
but that's only because it's a JRPG, and yeah, nothing else on here is fills that same role. There's not even. I don't even think there's another tactics game on this list. If you look at it,
there isn't. And maybe that's why it did so well, is that it doesn't really have any direct competition.
Yeah, that would explain it. So I would say for its pile, yeah, it's top of the pile. For that pile, probably not. Probably middle of the road. I remember selling. I was working video game retail at this point, so I remember selling some copies. Not a ton, but I remember people looking forward to it and like buying it.
Well, I remember the demo that came out, and it blew me away. I played that demo and was sort of awestruck, not only by the visuals, but the gameplay. Everything felt so fresh, and we'll get into that in a minute, I guess, in more detail. But it's one of those games that I think, because of this list, really, I never picked up. Because I'm too busy buying Left 4 Dead and playing Gears of War 2.
Yeah.
So much was happening that it never got around to my disk drive.
Yeah. Yeah, same here. I had heard about it, and I'd heard good things about it, but at the time I was sort of... I don't know, I never got into tactics games until, like, XCOM. When that came out, I got into that in a real big way, just because it lined up so many things I enjoy. It was like it was a PC game, it was a Western-developed title. I feel like I got out of Japanese-developed titles right around the time this came out. I was kind of over it, and I don't know what sort of triggered that. It's been too long.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's weird.
Because I'm the opposite. I was getting... So this game was sort of the pull to get me back in. For so long I had been Japanese RPG guy, mainly through the Super Nintendo era. And then sort of Japanese RPGs dried up around this console generation.
Yes, and that's probably what it was. It probably dried up, and I was like, oh, I don't want to hop back into a dying genre, do I?
Somebody's probably... In fact, Musum and I'm sure I can hear Boston arguing with me about this point, but... Compared to what it was like during the Super Nintendo era, where there was just seemed like game after game, we hit a spell where you kind of had to dig to find a good JRPG. So this game came out, and I just remember thinking, oh, this is great. This is exactly what I want to play. And having played it now, it is exactly what I want to play. So
so let's start. What are your first hour impressions? What did you like about this game?
What didn't I like about this game?
Is that a shorter list?
It is. It really is. It's incredibly short, actually. In fact, my reputation maybe for trashing everything is going to suffer tonight, because this is exactly what I want to play. The visuals were astonishing. The watercolor pictures that they painted were amazing. I don't know if you noticed, but the edge of the screen was like a constant blur. Yes, it was constant blur, like a canvas. So funny thing, I didn't like that in the actual gameplay. I didn't mind it in the cutscenes, but I disliked it so much during the gameplay I actually modded it out. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, I like to have it gives you a better field of view of what's happening. Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like you've given up some of the atmosphere. But so the caveat to that is part of the time I spent playing this game was spent on my phone. I found a piece of software that lets me remotely view my computer without using some of the the video card hooks, so you can still play a game through it.
Okay.
And so I had such little screen space that I wanted to preserve as much as I could.
Okay, that makes sense. I understand that for sure. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
But then the gameplay, one of the things about growing up through the 90s, and I'm sure a lot of our demographic weren't even born in the 90s, I get that.
Mm-hmm. Actually, you'd be surprised, but...
I guess that's true. There's people, although I find out you're a lot younger than I thought you were.
Yeah, only 30.
So the thing about growing up through the 90s is it felt like during that era, each new game, each new RPG, each new Japanese RPG that came out brought with it a new battle system. And part of the allure for me with picking up a game and finding out how are they going to take the traditional turn-based system. I go and then the enemy goes. And how are they going to turn that around in some way? Are they going to make some sort of system where you've got to incorporate tandem attacks or whatnot? And I felt like when I played this game, that's exactly what they did. They came up with another way of inventing that turn-based system, right?
Yes.
Because not only do you go and then the enemy goes, but the enemy can attack you while you're going. Mm-hmm. And you've got to think about when you stop your turn. Where are your troops? Are they in a defensive position? Are they in an offensive position? You've got to think about the enemy's position and what are they going to do on their turn. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, it's also sort of a third-person shooter.
Yeah.
It is so unlike anything I've ever played before that it was so much fun.
Yeah, and so like for anyone potentially listening that didn't play it, basically you have two distinct phases of combat. You have your command mode where you see the map and you see where all your troops are positioned, and you see like the enemy troops that you've spotted or that are obvious. You don't see all the enemy troops. But you then pick whatever troop you want. You have a number of what they call command points that you use to move troops around, and then you can shoot, you can move, you can hide, you can do all sorts of things from that point. But when you select someone with command points, you actually control them directly, like a third-person shooter. And you can do this however many times per turn. You can preserve some of your command points to hold them over into another turn. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but nobody else on the map moves, so it's sort of like a time. It's like you've frozen everybody else in time. Mm-hmm. But you haven't completely. You get too close to them, and they will shoot you. Mm-hmm. And that worked in my favor a number of times. Part of the strategy that was fun was putting your troops in a position where you know if the enemy AI comes up some particular hallway or passageway, you can cut them down. And I did that a number of times where the enemy troops would advance, and they would advance right into a line of fire, and they would eliminate themselves.
That's awesome.
Which was great. It felt great, right?
Yeah, it's a satisfying bit of combat, which is good. It's what you want out of a game like this.
Yeah, but my original point just was how much I felt like this was an innovative system. Mm-hmm. And it brought back all those feelings through the 90s like I had of picking up a game and seeing it innovate and do things differently. The same but different, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And this hit all of that. It hit that nostalgia button so well. I loved the music behind it.
Oh, the music is gorgeous.
Everything about this game is just so well put together. Mm-hmm. The characters are interesting. I don't know that I'm overly sold on them. I guess there's some character development things that are questionable. Like, for example, Welkin's promotion seems to just happen really quickly.
So to me, that makes sense because it was like, oh, your father's a war hero. Here you go. It's kind of...
it seems a little odd to me.
It's nepotism.
But it seemed to me,
really...
it seemed to me like we've got all of this content before Welkin gets, assigned to a squad, and then we've got all this content afterwards. How do we get him assigned to a squad? And they're like, let's not drag that out. Let's just make that happen.
That's just a thing that happens.
It just happens.
Yeah.
All right, I can deal with that.
Yeah, that's an interesting perspective.
So I'm interested in your first opinions when you pick up the first battle you go through. Is what? It's not the one they assault the gate, is it?
No, it's the one right before that. It's a little tiny skirmish against like a few scouts, I think, if I'm remembering it correctly. I played that the beginning, probably the day after it got voted. So
yeah,
it's been a minute.
Well, what were your? What first of all, what did you know about it going in, and then what was your take on it when you played it?
I knew sort of what the battle system was, and I knew it was very. I knew it was set in sort of like an alternate history World War, like an anime history World War II, and that's really all I knew. And going into
I couldn't decide if this was World War II or World War One.
No, it's definitely supposed to be two. It would be trench warfare if it was one. But yeah, actually, trench warfare would be pretty interesting. I don't know how they would handle that. I really like the combat. I think that selecting your troops and figure out where to position them and finding like little hiding spots was really good. I think there's some things about combat there's little tiny just quality of life things I would improve about the combat system. And it's not even the combat system; it's sort of like level design, personally.
All right, well let's unpack that a minute then.
So I don't want to get it. Let's get into it. I should be able to take cover behind anything solid. I shouldn't have to take cover. Like, I should be able to crouch behind like a rock or a chest high wall. And there's tons of them in this game, but you can't. You have to take cover behind sandbags, and that drove me nuts. That drove me crazy. It's just it boggles my mind. Why would you make that decision? Why would you do it this way? Or give me the option to crouch and make myself smaller at any given time. There's no reason I have to crouch behind something.
No, there isn't.
It's just,
that's a fair criticism.
It's just one of those little things. And then the other thing that drove me, and this isn't even a combat thing, but the book sort of worked against them as an interface. I was really annoyed by the fact that like 5 or 6 of these things I have to click through and I have to advance. And I know it's a JRPG thing, but they're all cutscenes. They're all cutscenes.
It's not a JRPG thing. It's a bad design.
It's just string them all together, and let me watch it, and don't make me. I know the idea is, and coming from user interface design, I understand you want to trigger an input so that you know that the person is paying attention and absorbing the content, and that's valid and understandable. But like, I don't have that kind of time to be sitting there going like, clicking through this stuff.
That is the only criticism I'll level at the game is the book design. The menu interface is broken in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
One thing I will disagree with you on, though, is I enjoyed the fact that it broke up cutscenes like it did.
Okay, yeah.
That each thing was its own contained little entity. I think it worked to keep my attention. As you were saying, having to click in each time, I thought kept my attention a little better than a 30-minute cutscene.
Yeah, and that's an interface design trick, which I get. But it just wasn't. I think it's just the point I'm at in my life where I'm, I've got a 6-month-old and I have to be sort of on call and a lot of the time, and
Which then, how did you not like this? Because one of the things I enjoyed was being able to say, all right, I'm going to commit for a few minutes, and then you get this cutscene and then it stops, right?
Yeah.
So then you're not committed to the next cutscene until you need to be.
I don't know.
And it worked in my favor a lot of times. I'm playing. One of the things that I loved about voting this game in, guys, is that I could play it with my kids. And one of the things that worked in my advantage was having these cutscenes broken up, where we could do something in between the cutscenes. So I won't level any criticism at that. The only thing that I will criticize, as far as them being broken up like that, is it's hard for me to tell. I was probably 3 or 4 chapters in before I realized that each chapter was only going to have 1 or 2 skirmishes.
Yes.
And that one of the things I had trouble understanding was what cutscene was a skirmish and what cutscene was a movie.
Yeah. That got a little rough, but it's pretty apparent once you get into it.
So
the only other criticism I have about the combat, though, is I didn't like the way they represented AP.
The AP is the bar for movement?
Yes. So I would have preferred like a number or something attached to like an amount of steps or something, or give me like a visual indication of like when I'm going to run out.
Like a range. Like, that would have been very handy, is if they said, if for example, you walk in a straight line from here and give you a radius, right?
Yeah.
Then you have an idea. I'll agree with you. There were times that I'm like, can I make it over there?
And I think that's part of the gameplay design, though, is, you might just end up being exposed. But just a little more visual feedback on that, just a little more design tweaking on that, I think could have made for a more satisfying experience. I think that's just me personally, because that's how I would have done it, but I don't think that's necessarily the right way to do it.
I think I will level that at you a little personal, because I didn't encounter that. Now that you've said it, I understand your point, and I kind of agree with it.
And really all it did was teach me to be more cautious with where I was moving.
And that's just it. Yeah, I don't think I ever played this game aggressively enough to ever experience that. Like I said, there were times that I would go, can I make it over there? And the answer was, well, maybe. And I always played the conservative side and didn't go, right? I always ended my turn and tried again the next time through.
Yeah, get about halfway and go, okay, I'll figure it out in a minute. I really like the balance between the tactics side and the actual like running around and shooting. I love the fact that you're not just like, okay, it's not just a percentage happening, and there's a little bit of dice rolling happening when you're shooting, but it's really more about your where you're hitting and how hard you're hitting.
I thought it was a perfect blend of that sort of chess game on the upper levels of chess game, and then when you get into it, you're playing sort of a first person or third person run around shooter. Yeah. But then on top of that, you've mapped a dice roll in it. So you're playing like Dungeons and Dragons. And then you can even get minutia behind it with aiming at the head versus aiming at the body. And how that changes your damage and
and how close you are versus how far away you are. It's really it's incredibly well balanced. It's incredibly well designed, incredibly well put together. I would almost love to see like a Final Fantasy game that did something like this, where you're like picking your spells really quick and like firing them off and doing that sort of stuff.
This would be an awesome blueprint for a Final Fantasy. Yeah.
Yeah.
We won't get it because Final Fantasy is going in a completely different direction.
Yes. I think the other things I liked were like the leveling and the gear system, so you didn't have to micromanage that stuff, and I love not having to micromanage stuff. You can level up. Yeah, you level up whole sections of your unit at once, so all your scouts, all your engineers, all your snipers, they all level up as a unit. Oh God!
Let me tell you what. When I first pulled in the squad, right? When you first get to the point where you can actually pull in crew members. And everybody's got a little one-line backstory.
Yeah.
And then I'm looking at them going, oh, man, they've got abilities.
Yes.
And everybody's ability is different. And things are – it's telling you things like this guy's a loner or this person likes so-and-so. And I'm thinking, oh, my gosh, I'm going to have to start taking into account who they get along with.
It's like Persona. It's like Persona.
Yes. And then you get in there sort of weapons, and I'm like, if I have to start assigning – who carries what weapon, I'm going to lose my mind. So the fact that the game simplified, everybody levels up, you don't have individual units leveling was awesome.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It leveled up individual weapons.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So much better than having to micromanage all that.
Yeah, that was actually one of my frustrations with XCOM, was always having to micromanage. And like at least there you have the step of like, okay, well, I check my loadout before I go out, and they keep the gear they have, so I don't have to do it every time. You only set it and forget it. When you upgrade, you have to do it. But
what was so great about this is playing games like Final Fantasy Tactics, where you do micromanage all that stuff.
Yeah.
I always ended up with like a core group of 3 or 4 people that just did everything.
Yeah.
The advantage to this was everybody was on the same plane. So, well, not exactly, right? Everybody's attributes sort of played into it.
So you have your attributes and your potentials, and the potentials can play into stuff. So like certain people you don't want to deploy in certain environments or with certain other people. It's kind of like social links in Persona.
But my point is that is so much more interesting to deal with than, well, this person's been carrying around this giant weapon for a while, and I really don't want to take it off of them because whatever, right? They map to each other, and it would be less powerful. Just to be able to not focus on that and then think about relationships and pairing up people, it was great.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I definitely enjoyed, like, now that I'm actually talking about this game out loud, like, all of my issues with it seem so petty in comparison to like the actual quality of the game. Because I've been playing this kind of in a vacuum. At the moment, you know, I haven't seen a whole lot of chat in like Discord or anything. So, but yeah, I love the classes leveling up as one, and it keeps the game moving. It just keeps you going. You don't spend a lot of time in menus, which I appreciate as well. You're a lot of times the only menu you're in is that command menu. Is like, okay, where am I putting this piece? Where am I putting this person? Yeah. And even the only time I spent really a lot of time in menus was deployment. And one of my favorite things was each skirmish would have you deploy. Sometimes you would deploy all in one spot, but then others you would deploy in two different sections, and you have to figure out. What? You have to figure out who's going to be good for each section. It's like, okay, these guys are like charging up the rear, and they're going to avoid, they're not going to see any tanks, but maybe you want to send a Lancer with them just to make sure if they do run into a tank, they're not completely destroyed.
I appreciated the fact that they broke up the combat in some ways like that. I didn't necessarily feel like I got all the information I needed up front to make an educated decision. I felt like I had to go into the battle and then make adjustments on the fly.
Yeah.
Which I was in way too deep in the game before I realized that you can retreat people and bring people in.
Yes.
Even if people go down, and if they get shot and die, well, they don't die, I guess, but if you get shot and you evac them, you can then replace them.
You can replace them, or if you wait a turn, you can just bring that same person back.
Yes, correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is, again, a great system. It's unlike Fire Emblem in that way, where somebody goes down, well, it is a little bit, I guess, if you don't get to them.
Yeah, if you don't.
And I found out, much to the chagrin of my daughter, in it was the map. I don't know if you made it this far, where there's a gigantic tank, and you have to take out this gigantic tank. And near the end of that battle, I want to call her like a Valkyrie character. She's a character with wings.
Okay.
Did you make it this far?
I did not.
Okay.
I'm the worst.
She comes in and she basically destroys the battlefield, and they tell you cannot fight her. Oh, so then your objective becomes staying away from her. Well, anyway, one of my guys went down, and it was like, oh, no big deal. My next turn comes around, I'll run over to him and pick him up. But before I could do that, this character walks over them, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right, because they disappear out of my squad. They get taken up, right?
Yeah.
It's the only time it happened while I played, and that person then is just gone.
Yeah.
They're just out of there. And fortunately, wasn't one of the characters that I kind of grown accustomed and attached to, and especially my daughter hadn't grown attached to.
Oh yeah, that would have been rough.
That would have been real rough if Cherry had disappeared, because she grew real attached to Cherry for some reason.
That would have been a rough conversation to have.
But one of the things, speaking about that battle, reminded me, one of the things that I absolutely adored about this game was the way you would start a battle, and then at some point in the middle of the battle, it would turn itself on its head, and it always did it in a unique way. And it started out small for me. It was the battle, I think it was the first battle where you split your squad.
Yeah.
Maybe not. Maybe it isn't. I can't remember now. It's the battle where you put a couple of people sort of like in a town, and then on the other side of the map, you've got your tank and a few other people, and you sort of pinch.
Yeah, it's a pincer move.
Yeah, you go up a ramp,
and
you go into a city, and you start out with a field. Well, this is the way they introduced you to the fact that you can hide in the grass, right?
Yeah.
Is you kill the couple obvious guys, and then you start advancing up the ramp, and boop, out of the grass pops up two enemies, and they start circling in behind me.
Yeah.
And I went, oh man, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Because I hadn't planned for that. It was that little surprise that happened battle after battle.
Yeah, it was the same thing with the next battle after that, where you split your squad and you're coming up that road in the forest, and then you get to the back area, and you discover, oh, there's a real big tank back there, and he's going to mess my world up. And they send
a boss tank your way.
Yeah, like question marks for the HP.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
rough.
And how did you finish that battle? Did you capture the camp?
That is where I stopped.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, that is where I ended.
So there are 2 ways to finish that battle. To capture the camp, which I found out. So after I get into the game quite a bit, and I'm well past that mission, I go back on YouTube and stuff, and I look to see how other people were doing it, because I always felt like maybe I was leaving a little bit on the table. And it turns out I was, but for very good reason. Your first playthrough of this game really is all about experiencing the story, and getting the feel of the battle. You really need to ignore your ranks and all of that stuff. It really isn't relevant. So one of the ways you can finish that battle is to capture the camp, and capturing the camp turns out to be a lot simpler than I gave it credit for. It's really only about the enemies that are right there at the camp. Whereas I felt like maybe I had to eliminate a lot more people.
No, you just got to get those camps.
For that battle, I did not eliminate the camp. I didn't capture the camp. I actually took the tank down.
Wow, impressive. He destroyed me.
I ended up, if you stay back far enough, you can pot shot it. And so I would do that. I would advance far enough that I could shoot it with my tank or with my lancers, and then I would retreat them far back enough, because he won't advance out of the town.
No, he will not. Oops, sorry.
So that, I found out, I guess, is a bit unusual. I think people probably capture the camp.
Yeah, that's what I was going for when I realized I probably wasn't going to take out this guy. I was just like, no, there's no way.
And you don't eliminate him.
No.
Once his health gets down to like 50%, then he evacs, and everybody goes with him.
Of course he does.
But here's the interesting thing.
I was close, man. I was so close.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was at like probably 60%.
Then you still have to capture the camp, though. Like, the game doesn't end. It's everybody's gone. All the enemies are disappeared, but you still have to walk up to the flag.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I hit that point. I brought my tank into the town, and that was my death knell. And I was like,
yeah, I never did that. I kept mine back.
Well, so I had 2 or 3 guys that got pinned down, and I couldn't like effectively get out of there easily. So I just rolled up the tank and used it as cover, and realized that I was in line of sight of both the. So if you're looking at the map, north would be the camp.
Yeah.
Or I'm sorry, east would be the camp. To the south, there was a
anti-tank gun.
Yes, and I was in line of sight of both the tank and the anti-tank gun, and my engineer just couldn't keep up with it.
You know what? Now that we're talking about this, I got extraordinarily lucky.
Yeah.
Because that anti-tank gun is why I didn't go into town. Because I figured it was going to take my tank out if I brought it into town. So I kept my tank out of town. Now, it wasn't because of the anti-tank gun necessarily. I tried to take it out. But I could. So I figured out this much. The anti-tank gun was up on the hill, and I knew how to get sort of the road up to the hill, but there was a barricade up.
Okay.
And what I didn't know at the time is that anybody with a grenade can blow that barricade. I was under the impression that the tank had to blow the barricade.
No, you can blow the barricades with grenades generally. Yeah, I used that a lot when I had like a guy in cover, and it was like, it's going to take you 1,000,000 shots to kill this guy. It's like, okay, I'm just going to toss a grenade back there, destroy the sandbags, and take.
Well, I
him
knew
out.
you could do that.
Oh, okay.
But I never made the connection that you could have done the same thing with the big giant tree that was knocked down.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until I watched the YouTube video
that I
put that piece together.
Okay, yeah.
But that's what saved me, because what happened then, if I had gotten up there like I intended and taken the anti-tank thing out, I would have rolled my tank into town, and I would have been in your position. The other tank would have rolled in and wiped me.
Yeah.
And I probably would have been done. Because I had stayed back, and because I was playing this chicken sort of with the town, I was in a position to do this sort of strategy where I could pot shot it and pull back.
Nice.
So very, very interesting, though, how that worked out. I didn't see that until right now.
Yeah.
So then you missed some of the better parts of the game, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I did.
And I'm sure
about it. I feel really awful about it, just because the lack of time ended up eating into like the time I had to play the game.
I'm sure everybody can say the same thing about me. I made it through Chapter 9, so halfway.
Okay. Yeah, it's like, what, 16, 17 chapters or something?
I think there are 16. I think maybe I made it 2 or made it through Chapter 9. I don't remember exactly. But right around the halfway point.
Yeah.
And the game was just starting to turn a corner that I'm really interested in seeing turn. it started moving away from a very straight up war game to a supernatural twist.
Like
I said, this Valkyrie character shows up in this battle, and she has this laser weapon that can shoot across the map.
Awesome.
And you're starting some of the story cues there. You're starting to unravel some of the ancient. I can't think of their names now.
Is it like Valkyria or something like that?
It's in that tone. So did you ever get to the tension between your crew and the, what do they call them?
The Darkson?
Pejorative. The Darkson.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that there's some tension there between that one Darkson character and the rest of your crew.
Yeah, and Rosie and like Largo and those guys.
Correct. They've got an issue.
Yeah.
There's something coming. There's something coming with all of that. That's like a deeper part of the story than I've played into, and I haven't gotten there to know if it goes anywhere. I suspect it goes to a very supernatural direction.
Yes, they talk about some sort of calamity, which I was like, okay, there's probably something that happened here with that, but they're wrongly blamed. It's very clearly like they're a stand-in for the people that were persecuted in like the Holocaust during World War II.
Right, absolutely. They're the Jewish.
Well, and all the other people that got persecuted. It's just sort of a conglomeration.
Sure. Well, so you didn't play the battle in the desert.
I did not. Right? No, I
heard. Well, let me sum that up a little bit. That battle did not go well initially for me, and ended amazingly.
Okay.
With an amazing story. The battle starts out with you divide your forces, and it suggests that you take snipers on one side and you take the rest of your crews on the other, and you provide sniper support. And I think the idea is to show you how the snipers work.
Yeah.
Well, I pulled 2 snipers and I put them up on this ridge, and I didn't pick a single person off, I don't think, which was probably not exactly what they intended. Yeah, however, they took out one of my snipers almost instantly.
Oh, that sucks.
So I abandoned the sniper strategy right away. And I just went all ground forces. And I blast my way. The map is a pretty gigantic map, and the idea is to get across these trenches to the enemy camp and pull the flag on the enemy camp. And in between you are sort of the first half of the map are these trenches, and the second half of the map is open desert. And they put snipers in their camp, and it's brutal because the snipers have basically an unimpeded view of you and will take you down. Well, like I said, every battle about halfway through flips itself, and it gets amazing. And in this battle, the thing that saved me again was that they stir up a sandstorm.
Oh boy!
And the map goes crazy and basically obscures everything. And they even say, "Now's your chance to make up ground. Hit the road." So I put everything I had into advancing. I advanced. I think his name's Largo. He was one of my lancers.
Okay.
I advanced him to the other side of the map all by himself, and I had him take out the tank that was there, pinning me down. Fortunately, he did that. The thing I didn't count on was the sort of L-shaped structure that had one of their scouts behind it.
Oh, no.
Who then ended up taking Largo out.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know they were there.
Oh,
so
man.
Largo achieved his mission of taking out the tank. Now, this is all basically suicide. At this point, I'm kind of outnumbered. I'm outmanned. And I only have a prayer. I took a scout. I think it was Alicia.
Okay.
And I swept her around, because now that I knew that this guy was there that had taken Largo out, I swept her around him, advanced on their camp. And their camp was made up of, I think, a sniper. And what are the stormtroopers? Are they called stormtroopers? The
shock trooper, I think.
Shock troopers, yeah. Which, by the way, cut me down.
Oh, yeah.
They were deadly. So Alicia, pretty much at full health, I think. I put everything I had in getting this battle won in her hands.
Oh, wow.
Basically just used her turn after turn.
Yeah.
Advanced her into the camp. The problem I had is I used up because you basically get, how did this work out here? Okay, if I remember right, you get one attack, right, per...
You get one non-movement action,
point?
let's say.
Yeah.
You get either an attack, a heal, or if you're an engineer, like you can repair.
Right. So I had advanced her to the camp. Now, the thing that didn't work out so well, she took the sniper out by herself, which was fine.
Yeah.
The shock trooper apparently was well armored, because when I get her over there and I line her up, I don't have enough moves left, enough command points left to kill the shock trooper. Like, there's... Even if I use her turn after turn, I can't kill it. I can't even come close.
Yeah.
So this is what I do.
Ammo too.
She's got unlimited ammo.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
The Lancers and stuff have limited ammo.
Yeah.
But she's got unlimited. Even at that, even shooting them in the head, I couldn't take them out with bullets.
Yeah.
So this is what I did to win the battle. I threw a grenade and I blew up the shock trooper such that they flew just outside the radius of the camp. Oh. And then, now here's the thing though. The flag is still within the viewing circle of the shock trooper. And the way the game works is if they can see you, they can shoot you.
Yes. So
I had to take Alicia, who's running on half health or whatever.
Yeah.
Limp her, who at this point, because I've used her turn after turn, her AP bar is minuscule.
Yeah.
And limp her to the flag and pull the flag faster than the shock trooper can kill her. And that's how I won the battle.
Amazing.
It was amazing.
That's
it was
awesome.
not the way you're supposed to do it by any stretch.
Oh, no, not at all. But that sounds like
an awesome
amazing story, though.
It was amazing. It made far better visual than it did a summary.
I'm sure.
But if you played the game and you played that map, you can sort of understand what I'm referring to here.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to play more of this. I really want to. It's become a very relaxing game for me. It's like, no, if I screw up, I'll just restart, reload. That is one point in its favor. You can save at almost any point in this game.
Yeah.
If you're at the command screen, and that is so helpful.
The other thing they hit on so well was the ability going into a battle of wanting to finish the battle, right?
Yeah.
But also being completely comfortable with getting your butt handed to you.
Yeah, because you knew you could either reload a previous save because you saved a bunch, or you learned something about the battle.
Yeah,
that you
absolutely.
Can then take into a retry.
What I thought was amazing was how they were able to balance going into a battle and not maybe understanding the battle totally, but still finishing it.
Yeah.
With keeping that fun.
Yeah.
Right.
And there's some puzzle elements to it too. They always give you a little like, oh, there could be a trick to this. Prime example is that what is that? That battle in like the city after is it the bridge battle? I think it's the bridge battle. Yes, it is. Yeah, it's the battle on the bridge where you come up out of the river at the dude and then come around back.
Yeah, surprise attack him, right?
Yeah. There's tanks of Ragnite everywhere. And like right where you start, there's a tower, and I had a sniper with me, so I put my sniper up there.
Yeah.
I just start picking off Ragnite tanks. Like I spent my whole first turn just blowing up Ragnite tanks. And then as I advance all my troops forward, all the actual tanks that were sitting next to the Ragnite like containers, they're like a quarter of their health, so they are one shot destruction, and it was amazing.
Yeah. That reminded me. I have another great story with this map.
Oh yeah.
Done.
And the other thing is like you learn what your tank, the Edelweiss, can actually drive through. And when you figure out what obstacles it can take down, that can change the entire game.
Yep, and that figures into my story.
Oh, yeah.
Because that map is set up, if I remember right, sort of like taking you sort of a roundabout way to the camp.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you could, but there's a pile of rubble in your way.
But what I ended up finding out is the Edelweiss can take out a wall and shortcut the map. Yeah. And I found it sort of by accident.
Yeah.
And that ended up opening the map up for me and allowing my troops to kind of funnel into the camp. Because I was planning to go all the way around.
Yeah, that's how I tried the first time I tried it, and I failed.
And I don't think that'll work, because they've got snipers and stuff. They really probably have you in a bad position that way. Yeah. So I think the game is probably expecting you to discover this and blast down the wall.
Yeah.
But now the other amazing part of the story is when I get to the camp, I'm kind of doing sort of this dual strategy here where I've got, I think, a shock trooper and a scout working together to advance on the camp.
Yeah.
I ended up eliminating all of the people around the camp, but they had called for reinforcements.
Oh, it's the worst.
Right? Here's the thing that's heartbreaking. I ran out of AP to get my people to the camp. So I've eliminated the people around the camp, but I am ever so shy. And I don't mean I'm like on the other side of a sandbag. I mean I am in the camp. I can't get to the flag.
Oh, no.
So what happens, which is hilarious, is my turn ends, and I have to wait for my next round. The reinforcements arrive, but they arrive right around my guys. So my guys cut them down, which was
awesome.
great. They spawn in, right, and then they just immediately eliminate it.
Oh, that's amazing.
So then I had to wait for my turn to come around to pull the flag. But this game is full of moments like that are just, you can't script it, I don't think.
You
couldn't, as a programmer, could you? How could you do that?
Probably not. No, probably not.
It would be very difficult to script a moment like that.
Yeah.
Right? But it's full of these little moments that are just great little stories.
Yeah, and I think, and for being a non-procedural game, I think that's like really interesting. There's just so many ways to play it and so many ways to approach it. Like, what your troop composition looks like. I always had a bunch of shock troopers, and then I realized I wasn't using the shock troopers a whole lot because they don't have a good range of movement. So I would have 2 or 3 scouts, an engineer for my tank, and then a sniper or 2, and then some lancers. I barely use shock troopers.
Shock troopers were my defensive units.
Oh, yeah?
So if I had a position I needed to defend, for example, the map, what would be a good example of this? The map in the forest with the tank we had talked about a while ago. Putting some shock troopers up there in that village to what would be the north.
Oh, yeah.
Turned out to be really handy.
Yeah.
Because they attack from that road on the far north.
Yeah.
There are several troopers that come in that way. And I would use my shock troopers sort of in a position that would look down that road and cut them down. All of this the first time happened quite sort of by accident.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they were going to be coming down that road. But I'm with you. I found myself not using certain, like, for example, the shock troopers as much as I expected to use them.
Yeah, I use snipers
and making adjustments.
a lot. Yeah, I use snipers a lot because that's sort of my play style. Like, I prefer to, like, take as much out as I can from a distance so that I don't have to worry about it. After a certain amount of time, I can just sort of storm in and not have to think. I mean, you have to think a little bit, obviously, but just being able to, like, storm in and go, okay, taking this stuff out.
I did it first. I had snipers in every battle, and then towards when I stopped playing, I stopped using them. I don't know if the maps sort of encouraged more of a ground-based attack, but I found that as you're trying to capture camps, mission after mission, having units that didn't move very far wasn't overly handy. I found it more useful to have scouts that could move.
Yes. That was a big bonus, was having scouts that could just cover ground and get to where you needed them to be and stay out of the line of fire.
We're jumping around a little bit, but
yeah.
I did want to get back to the criticism with the interface in the book.
Yeah.
I didn't quite finish that thought entirely. Way too many clicks to do things. Way too many clicks. If you want to go to headquarters, you have to click a button to go to a menu, and then you have to click a button to go down to headquarters, and you have to click a button to go to headquarters, and then you have to confirm that you want to go to headquarters.
Yes.
I discovered that the triggers work as shortcuts to some of that.
Okay.
So you can, like the tabs in the books, you can sort of shortcut to them by using the triggers.
Oh, nice.
But even that isn't overly shortcutty.
Yeah, it's, I don't know.
You should be able to use the triggers to literally flip the tabs.
Yeah, it feels like it was probably to mask some loading that you were doing, that confirmation and all that stuff.
Yeah, maybe.
Which I get, especially if this was PS3 exclusive. The memory split on the PS3 isn't great, so probably have to do a lot of loading. As far as, the more, honestly, every time I look at my, complaints list, I'm like, these are so dumb. Compared to, how much fun I had with this game, these are so dumb. I found it so cheery in some cases where they were just, so hopeful. I was like, this is kind of repellent, but that's a totally personal thing on me.
Really? I didn't get any of that repellent over awful cheeriness.
That's just me. That is 100% me.
I found it to be
it's charming,
intriguing. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I found it to be the right mix of these are our good guys, right? With Welkin was basically your bread and butter baby face hero.
Yeah.
And his sugary, him and Alicia to me were the same, two sides of the same coin with that hero, always on the positive outlook person.
Yeah.
But then around them, right, the cast of characters was suitably dire, I thought.
Yeah, not bad. I don't know.
And then the bad guys were suitably evil.
Oh god, they were comically evil. It was pretty great. Like the one dude's got what did he have on the one shoulder? Was it a calf skull? Or was I didn't notice. He stood up and he's just got a cow skull with the horn still attached as a pauldron. It's like, okay, we get it. You're evil. Easy.
Yeah, I enjoyed all of that. It was maybe over the top, but I enjoyed the over the top side of it. I don't know. It didn't seem like it was out of place.
Yeah, I don't know. There's that. I think it's the anime stuff. Like, oh look, we all met in Brule and we are all in the same unit. How coincidental is that? Isn't that amazing, guys?
Yeah. Well, I have to point out, if we're talking about over the top stuff, the battle in Brule,
which I want to get back to for a different reason.
I think we lost your headset or something.
Yeah, my controller kicked off.
Okay, there it is.
All right, my back.
Yeah. All right, so the battle in Brule, right, is where you first get access to the tank. And what do? They put Welkin in there, they put Alicia in there, they put Welkin's sister in there, right?
Yes.
And they put a pregnant lady in there.
Yes.
How bananas is it that you go out and you fight a battle with a pregnant lady in the tank? And now they don't leave it there, right? It's not just about getting the pregnant lady out of town so she can have her baby. She has her baby in the tank during the battle. How amazing is that?
It's pretty great. I feel like I talked to somebody about this exact same thing because it was so ridiculous. I think someone mentioned it in Discord.
I feel like it can either go one of two ways there. You can either go, this game is utterly dumb and I'm done. Or you can do what I did, which is, this game is utterly amazing and I want to see more.
I think it was much more.
If we're having babies and tanks in the first hour or two, where are we going from here?
Yeah. God, having a baby
in
a tank
sounds horrifying. The other side of that battle is that they're assaulting the gate of that town.
Yeah.
They very much tell you up front they aren't messing around, because I was legitimately worried I was going to fail that mission.
Yeah.
They assault that gate like they mean business, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the fact that it was tough.
Yeah.
That it really gave me some fear that I'm not going to do this.
Yeah, there's some challenge to this game. This game does not pull its punches. Is there even a difficulty setting?
There isn't in the game itself. The main game doesn't have one, but the skirmishes that you fight, so basically the optional battles you can go to earn experience and money in, have difficulty settings.
Yes, I remember
that. And I did learn you get easy and normal, and I did learn there's a hard, but you have to get the game, you have to finish the game.
Oh, you have to New Game Plus it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the thing is, so I probably could have gotten much further in this game than I did, but I'm playing this game as an RPG, as a Japanese RPG, and I'm thinking grind.
Oh, okay.
So I would do a chapter,
and
then I would go back and grind just a little bit.
Yeah.
I'd play a skirmish or two, depending on how quick it was. And I found out that that's probably not necessary. For the first time through, you're probably okay just playing the stories.
Yeah.
So having known that now, I could probably power through the second half of the game a little quicker. But
probably.
I enjoyed having all the money and the experience and leveling things up and being a little overpowered.
It's always a good feeling in these types of games. In any JRPG, really, it's nice to have you want to go back to those early parts and just be like, haha, one shot. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think it's a good feeling to get in this type of game. And I honestly wish I would have done more of the skirmishes. I did the first couple, and that was it. And I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try and mainline the story, and then even that failed. So.
Well, the skirmishes really aren't all that interesting because they are based on the story.
Yeah.
So it's a battle from the story. You just get to recreate it. It's interesting it's nice to grind with, because you can do it. You can approach these battles then sort of like what if scenarios. What if I didn't take a sniper, or what if I did take a lancer? And there's really very little risk to doing it.
That's
and there's
good.
all upside. You get experience and money and stuff.
Nice. Yeah.
So I played some of those skirmishes several times, several different ways. One time I did it in like 2 moves. One of the very first skirmish on the meadow, where you're getting to the flag, I took a scout, and in 2 moves you can make it to the flag.
Wow.
And the scout can take out the person standing by the flag. So
no reason not to.
I just did it for giggles, right? Just because I could.
Wow, that's awesome. So, like I said, my biggest complaints about this game are just some of the interface design and some of the choices around like cover. I think could have been better. The other issue I had was with using a controller. Every time you go into, sometimes if you go into targeting mode, it will auto snap to like the nearest target, and then sometimes it wouldn't, and sometimes I'd be playing a little too quickly and shoot at nothing.
Ooh, that's on you.
Yeah, I feel like that's on you. I feel like that's on me.
That is on you. You are playing way too quickly.
Yeah.
The only time I felt that pressure was a scenario where I'm trying to attack someone. I guess trying to attack someone who is in range to shoot me.
Yes. Yeah, and that's always when it happened.
It won't stop, right? They'll just keep shooting you until you're dead, or you shoot them, or you end your turn.
Yeah. And neither of those are quick processes. Like the easiest one is just get in targeting mode and hit the button.
Yeah. Okay. Well, all right. Well, maybe it's not totally on you then.
Yeah. But the thing was, if it never auto snapped, I would never expect it to. But it auto snapped sometimes. You had to be within a certain like radius of them. So that was a little. It was all these little tiny things that I feel like I could just get used to over the course of what is this, like a 30-hour game, 40-hour game?
Somewhere in there, I want to say, I should have checked, I guess, before I started. I don't know how many hours I put in. Probably 20.
I would say I put in about half that. I put in about 10, unfortunately. And like I said, I wish I would have put in more, but it's been probably one of the busiest like months here I've had in a while. So.
Oh, I know. I feel you. All of my play time came in the first couple of weeks that this went up.
Yeah, and I did play a little bit today.
Man, I was so proud. I was thinking, this is going to be an easy finish.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it all fell apart.
Yeah.
I feel awful, but
let me tell you, I haven't had a free weekend. I think since my birthday back in May 16th.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been we got all sorts of stuff coming up still. So I think my next free weekend, quote unquote, is like the second to last week in July.
All right. Well, I don't know that I have anything else really to contribute. I think I've covered everything I cared to discuss. Do you have anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think we covered it. I think we did kind of a mishmash this time. It wasn't exactly linear through all that stuff, but I think we hit all of our major points here. All right, you got anything to put out there? Anything to promote?
No, I don't have any podcast. I do this and that's it. So, but you can find me anywhere under the name Nintendork327.
Yeah. So yeah, literally anywhere now that I think about it. You do that on Xbox, you do that on Twitter. Wow.
PlayStation.
Yeah.
I couldn't be that on the Wii because I guess Nintendo is in my name. And God forbid that somebody think I'm actually a representative of Nintendo.
Yeah. So is it just Orc327 there then?
I should have done that. I didn't think about that. I had to go with, I think it's Scott_J327.
Okay, that's still got a consistent boring number at least.
Yeah, but nobody plays the Wii U, so.
So you can find me anywhere as the Hannah, Twitter, Steam, PS4, 360. I think when that's on, but I'm probably just watching Netflix. And you can also hear me on the E3 podcast from this past week. I came back. Part of my Father's Day gift was being able to make the time to do that podcast. So, sat down with Knobs in Boston and we talked about E3, and it was really awesome. I'm really proud of that show. Give it a listen if you haven't already.
If you've never heard of TVGP.
yeah, if you've never heard of TVGP somehow.
Actually, we laugh at that.
Join the forums. Mark yourself on the map. TVGP.tv.
I guess it's entirely possible, if this is in the main thread, that this could be somebody's first download.
Potentially, yeah.
In which case, we're sorry about that. This is not the main show.
Apologies. We're talking about that.
We should maybe address that at the beginning.
Maybe. I don't know. I'll throw it in the intro or something. Yeah, so I think that's it.
Nope, it's not it. We got one more thing, one more piece of business.
The next Game Club game, which starts as soon as this show is over here, is Star Wars Republic Commando, as suggested by Angel Eye on the forums. So good on you, Angel Eye. I'm looking forward to playing that. I remember that coming out I think it was 03 or 04. And played a little bit of it. I think played a demo. It looks cool. I'm excited to play it. So yeah, get on that. And Scott, I'm sure you'll make the thread at some point here.
Yep.
And we will have more information for you soon. So thanks for joining us, everybody in chat. Sorry we couldn't get that in the stream today. OBS was just being really frustrating, so I figured I would just, get us online. So yeah, see you next month, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, and now we are not live.